Alright, wrapped up the video of replacing the whole front end, struts, sway bar links, tie rods, inner and outer, control arms. If you missed that video, I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that out. So now I'm going to do the rear here, which a lot less components in the rear. I'm just doing the rear shocks and the sway bar links there. So we'll get underneath here in a second. If you didn't notice, that's something else I need to replace is the hatch shocks, which I'll get to eventually. Those are pretty simple, so I don't have to hold this up with a board anymore. But you see that little plastic cover right there? This one's already off. So there's your mounting bolts right there for the top. I don't think you have to, but you can just pull this rubber cap off here to access the top of the shock there. But anyways, that's where they're located from up top. And I mean, this thing should just pretty much pull away, as you can see there. You just pop her off there like so. There's our new one out of the box. You can see you just got one bolt at the bottom there, which again I'll show when I get under the car. I'm gonna pop the wheel off here in a second to get to all this, but I just want to show you guys real quick. So on this control arm or trailing arm or whatever the heck it's called, you can see right there there is a bushing and a joint there. However, these are the sway bar links that I'm replacing. And this is what's been clunking around in the rear end of the car, driving me freaking crazy. Let's see if I can get it on camera for you. But yeah, it's loose right there. I mean, you can see the boots all torn up and everything. A little difficult to show on camera, but hopefully you guys can hear it clunking. So that's what's been clunking in my rear. Right there, if those go bad on that arm there, I might replace those one day as well. I'm actually going to check them while I'm under there, but they're all old and can use replacement, but I don't recall seeing that available as part of the kit that I got, so that's why I do not have them. If they came with the kit, I would have definitely been replacing those today as well. This one on this side is real loud right here. So yeah, that's where my noise has been coming from. Also, I thought it was neat. I did not know this. I thought the arm just went up and down, but it's actually got a pivot joint up in there as well, because check this out. The whole thing turns. That seems pretty solid though, so I got lucky there. For now, that is. You can see the boot. They're pretty weathered, so they're on borrowed time as well. And then while we're down here, you can see the big old bolt on the bottom of your shock there, holding it on there. Alright, so there's with the wheel off. So, I mean, the shock's pretty straightforward. You just unbolt, obviously, once you're securely mounted on a jack stand. I just leave the jack there as backup, unbolt the bottom and unbolt from the top and pull her out. Now these are probably going to fight us a little bit here, these sway bar links. You can hear it clunking now. Yeah, you see that boot's torn. So when you try to, this nut is seized obviously with all that rust and crap, so it'll just try to spin the joint in there and won't let you take it off. But the ends of these, you can see the end of the bolt is hollow. You put the appropriate sized Allen wrench in there, or Torx bit, or whatever it may be, and you hold it in place with that Torx bit or Allen wrench while you spin the nut off of it. But good luck. I tried that on the front ones, had to cut them off because it stripped out the center of that bolt. And I'm gonna hit these with PB Blaster and let them soak for a while, but it'll probably still round them off, and I will still likely have to cut these things off of there with a with my grinder with a cutting wheel attached. All right, so I thought we had an issue here for a second. So here's the bolt I took out of the bottom of the factory shock there, and look at this. Plus, it doesn't even reach all the way through, right? So I was like, I think I got the wrong shocks, but that's not the case. It's just interesting how this works. I noticed when I was, well, I haven't got it off here yet. It's completely unbolted and it's just sitting there. There's a nut right here. And if you notice, this bolt still doesn't reach all the way through on the factory one. So it's correct. This must be an insert that has threaded rod or tube or whatever that this bolts into. And initially this didn't have a bunch of play in there like I just showed you on the other one, but I popped this washer off the end here. So it's got these washers on both sides, I believe, or at least on this one side. Keeps the bolt centered in there and then it'll thread in. So we'll take a closer look at it once I pop this off. So it's completely unbolted. I just gotta tap her off of there. Yeah, see, there's the tubes. You gotta slide it off this tube here, and inside that tube it's got the thread for the bolt that holds it in place. It's a little bit of a puzzle getting it out of there. I had to bring the bottom of it over here, and then I was able to pull the top out. But yeah, you can see it's the same on the factory one there, and look at this. All that crap. It's from all the goop that is just like leaked out because these things are completely blown, which is why this car has handled like absolute trash since the day I got it. So yeah, make sure you pop these off here. Well, I think it was just the front one. Yeah, there's nothing that's coming off of the, nothing else fell, so it appears to just be this washer on the front. You stick your bolt through, it holds it centered there, and again it threads in the end of this tube here. Alright, so the old one's not like this, but the new one is, and this is normal. This is a design improvement. The hole on this side is much bigger, as you can see there, than it is on this side. So I'm going to use the smaller hole for my bolt. I'm still going to repurpose that washer, but it's like bigger, and then it tapers in right here. So yeah, that's probably just to make it easier to get it slipped over your shaft here. And if I can find them here, same thing with these. Like I said, on here we got that stupid, put the Allen wrench in and hope it's not so seized that you can break the nut off and all that to unbolt it. I'm planning on having to cut it off, but the new ones, they have instead of having the Allen wrench in the head, you got a nut attached to your shaft there, so you can put a wrench on there to lock both ends to actually get these off when they're all rusted and seized on. So that's a design improvement there, and so is this, so that's why it's different. So make sure you put the larger end. If your new ones are different, the larger end is to slide over that shaft there. Also, I'm going to grease this thing up real good on the inside of this. So yeah, I'm having to cut these off, and I'm having a difficult time getting my grinder up in here. I could use a Dremel with a cutting wheel, but it would take forever, and I go through a bunch of wheels. So I was thinking drop this arm here, and then I would have room, but this bolt is pretty seized, and then I know I'm going to fight with getting that back in there once I pop it out and all of that. So I'm actually just going to remove the sway bar. I'm thinking I can pull it out through here after I unbolted on both sides. I already cut the other side because, yeah, these are just stripping out. I stripped out that, stuck the Allen key in there like you're supposed to and all that, and like I said, it'd probably be too seized, and yep, sure was. Stripped it out, so the ball joint was just spinning, so I had to cut her off there. Yummy. So anyways, I cut the other link at the other side too. I'm just going to unbolt the sway bar, pull it out. That way I can much more easily access the top ones and get them cut off there. And these bolts for the mounting bracket on that sway bar there, they're pretty nasty and rusty too, but not as bad as these other ones. And so, you know, I just soaked them real good in the PB Blaster, and they're coming out for me. Well, something's going on with this lower bolt. It like snapped all of a sudden, but I still can't get it out, get it off. I don't know if there's like a welded nut in there that broke loose potentially. It's kind of sealed up. I can't get in there, but with this one pretty much all the way unbolted and the other side loose, it's pivoting for me, so I should be able to get this cut off now, so I don't have to remove the entire thing. I mean, my initial thought was just to spin it, but with how rusty and everything seized up on this thing, I figured that rubber would be seized to the sway bar, but I guess not. So thankfully able to turn it there. All right, I got the new shock in and torqued down and all that, and so I'm trying to get this situation corrected here. So that is a nut up in there. So this lip here was actually in the way. I was thinking about cutting it so I could get a wrench up in there, that way I can retighten that, because otherwise it's just going to clunk around with this being loose, because that nut up in there is spinning. So what I did was I used this, put it over the lip, tighten it down, and I bent the lip down out of the way so I can get a wrench up in there to hold that nut that is now spinning tight, so I can tighten that bracket back up. And by doing it this way, I can now take a hammer and hammer that back up flush if I want, instead of just cutting it off there, and then it would be left exposed like that. But that's how I'm addressing that issue. Should be able to see right there, I already got the other side cut off from the bottom. I need to take the wheel off over there so I can cut it off here, because the whole wheel and everything's in the way right now. Finished getting it cut off over there, get the new one thrown in. I guess we still got to throw the new one on here, but I'm leaving this down for now until I finish that other side. But I mean, we're done. That's it. You throw your shock in, you get it torqued back down, put your new sway bar link in there, attaches there obviously, in there. And then I'm going to tighten these brackets for the sway bar back up with the sway bar links attached once I get to that other side. Throw my wheel back on, and that's it. Alright, so I'm on the opposite side now, and this whole assembly just springs up when you pop your shock out. This one sprung up with a little more force. I mean, still nothing that I would say is gonna, you know, injure you or anything like that, but trying to push it back down to get the shock over that shaft there. I didn't have an issue on the other side. I was able to just push down on the rotor here pretty hard with one arm and then slide it over. But this side I could not, and I had to have a 140, 150 pound person basically stand on it to get it to come down enough. So what is causing that? That's all these rubber bushings in here, everywhere it connects. So obviously the rubber is elastic. So the rubber, it's basically, instead of these turning and pivoting like they're supposed to, they're basically caught, and it's turning the rubber internally, which also will damage them. That's where the whole, you know, getting the greasing everything periodically so it all still moves and pivots like it's supposed to. I mean, you got rubber joint up here, rubber joint there, rubber joint there, there, you know, all this stuff has got those rubber bushings, rubber joints. So basically this side was on more of a bind to where it's like twisting that rubber instead of the rubber being able to pivot with everything that's moving. Like, see how this pivots nice? Now that's a ball joint, and this I'm not sure. But yeah, these are all rubber bushings, rubber joints, and they're not moving too freely on this side. So I don't think it's going to really matter once the weight of the car's on it. It probably won't be a noticeable difference, but sometimes when they're binding up like that, they can cause, you know, creaks and squeaks and stuff like that. And then also, this is just a prime example of what happens and why you may want to refresh all of them. I mean, it's a lot more work to get them all out and everything, but why you may, if you're trying to make it handle like a brand new car, these old bushings can be holding you back there because they're not moving freely like they're supposed to. And I mean, you could try to take them apart and grease them up and all that, but it's probably too far gone at this point. So anyways, if you can't get the whole knuckle assembly pushed down far enough, that's why. And you may have to have somebody just like stand on this for you, hang on to the edge of the car like I had her do. Stand on the edge of this, push it down so you can get it over. So the other side wasn't an issue, but this side was, and that's the reason why. It's from those rubber bushings being seized up. All right, so I am good to go. I got everything bolted back up, including the sway bar brackets there. There's your links. That's how those go on there. So get my wheel back on there, and I'm done. I think I'm gonna take it down the road, a nice flat parking lot, and do kind of a walk around, see how the stance is now that we got brand new shocks and struts. All right, there it is, new shock struts, front and rear there. So like I said, if you missed the previous video for the whole front end, which was way more than sway bar links and just the struts, link in the description for that. But that's how it sits now. Now I'm considering, I mean, it sits up higher than it used to because those shocks and struts were all blown out, but now I'm considering a lowering kit, like nothing crazy. Maybe like one of those $250 Ibach lowering spring kits. I don't know. It's not such a bad idea to be up that high with our rough driveway, and you know, if I gotta drive it in Ohio winter and the snow and all that, it's good to be higher up like that. But as far as being more sporty and handling better and looking better and all that, it'd probably look better with like an inch and a half drop. So I might do that in the future. But definitely going to be getting that exhaust leak there fixed. I need to get a new Y pipe down there where the flex pipe is. There's multiple holes where you can stick your finger through it, so that's why it sounds like it does. It's got this weird idle too I haven't figured out yet. But anyways, so now it's got other than a few of those rubber bushings back there, all new front and rear suspension. So